For more on this development and the 2023 supplementary budget, I'm joined by CEO Economic Associates, Dr. Ayo Teriba. Thank you for joining us on the program this evening. A good place to start, Dr. Teriba, is the presidential yacht. Just how convincing would you say the presidency's clarification is for you as an economist?
Hello.
Well, Dr. Teriba,
Hello.
I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Okay. You are not very audible.
Oh, I was asking if the clarification from the presidency as regards the 5 billion naira earlier allocated for a presidential yacht makes sense to you as an economist.
Oh, well, it makes sense to me because I have looked at the breakdown, of the supplementary budget, and I found indeed that this 5 billion was listed under the capital outlay, capital proposals for the Navy, who submitted, a total of 62 billion. The State House proposal didn't include the presidential yacht. So the presidential spokesman's explanation makes sense. Says, that this is not something that was requested by the State House for use of the president. That is just a nomenclature employed, by the Navy to describe that type of water transportation equipment. And I noticed that even the police, had a similar amount budgeted for boats, which didn't raise any eyebrow. I think what was raising eyebrow is the nomenclature. It's not as if we're talking of a 2.1 trillion budget, and this is 5 billion naira because the presidential yacht suggested that maybe this is the president wanting to indulge himself in some luxury. So in addition to the explanation of the presidential spokesman, perhaps the Navy might also want to clear air.
I'm sure as an economist, you agree that the concerns, were rightly shared given the, economic realities of most Nigerians at this time. But what do you make of the decision of the lawmakers to reallocate the fund to increase the students' loan to 10 billion naira?
Right. I mean, I'm glad that not just that Nigerians, had expressed their right and freedom, to express their feelings, but that the powers, at the highest level have also listened, and that, provided an explanation. That is not probably what the majority of the party thought. As to the decision the House of Reps to move the allocation to the students' loan, again, the Constitution gives the powers to the National Assembly, to consider, modify and amend appropriation proposals. They were exercised the powers that had constitutionally been given to them.
Indeed, Dr. Teriba, I think we're having challenges connecting with the economist, but we'll keep trying. The 2023 supplementary budget, if you can hear me, Dr. Teriba, yes, as we understand it, is to be channeled towards funding national defense and security, as well as the provision of welfare packages for Nigerians. I think the largest chunk of 600 billion naira is going to security and defense. But there's the question of whether or not a supplementary budget is justified, considering there are already budgets this year for these MDAs. Help us understand why this is needed 2 months to the end of the year.
Well, we have to understand, one, that our budgets are appropriated in Naira. And between June this year and today, you know what has happened to the Naira. Yeah, we earn dollar revenue, which when converted means that the revenue available has also increased. The exchange rate that prevails now is much higher than the exchange rates at which the budget had been drawn. So if the budget had been drawn at 400 and something Naira to the dollar, revenues are coming in at, higher than that now. And therefore, it makes sense that spending similarly that has been budgeted in Naira needs to be marked up, if for no other reason, to reflect the movement in the exchange rate, which the revenue has reflected, and also to perhaps compensate for the fact that global shocks to commodity prices, to energy and food prices, had also meant that inflation, for example, Nigeria's inflation is 25%. So if this is a markup on the original spending proposal, the original spending proposal was about 21 trillion. So this is about 10% markup on it. It seems eminently justifiable considering movements in exchange rate and commodity prices. Will be my view. And the new government has come in, had to manage some crises, had to make some welfare commitments that were largely extra budgetary. All these promises to pay workers this amount, promises to pay, the underprivileged, the poor, or the vulnerable.
Exactly.
How budgetary. So it makes sense, that the new government in particular to be able to keep their promises, to ensure that the populace are protected from the bite, for example, of the devaluation that we have seen, the bite of pump prices of petroleum might need some more money. And of course, security. Every Nigerian will readily welcome any efforts that the government is making to ensure better defense, better security,
All right,
and more effective policing in the country.